next question is, as a doctor, what are the effects of Vicodin, if you know?
Yeah, it's for pain, so it's a pain medication.
The next question is, you mentioned that schizophrenia has an onset period of 2 to 3 years. Do you find the fact that Mr. Holmes had delusions of murder for at least 10 years prior to the murders a contraindication of schizophrenia as a diagnosis?
No, I do not. I said that the common, and when we talk about common, it's always a range. And commonly, when people come to an academic center across the United States, multiple studies, each 2 to 3 years, is it possible that the parents will become concerned in a teenager or young adult after 1 year? It's possible. Is it possible that it will go undetected for many years and a person coping and gradually decompensating? Absolutely.
The next question is, what was Dr. Mel Lepsey's diagnosis that you referred to regarding Mr. Holmes?
I think that I recall that it was, but I have to check, that it was a adjustment disorder, but I will have to check more. I think it was adjustment disorder.
The next question is, did you ask Mr. Holmes about why he went to such elaborate means via his gear at the movie theater to protect himself if there's no meaning to life? For example, helmet, neck guard, leg protections, or leg protectors, excuse me.
Yes, no meaning to life was part of his delusion, and I've asked him repeatedly, why didn't you kill yourself if there's no meaning to life? He was afraid to die.
The next question is, did Mr. Holmes discuss with you why he chose to commit the murders at the Batman movie? Did his decision have anything to do with the content of that movie?
Chaos, as in my notes over the notebook, when I went over the notebook with him, the movie is on chaos, and his perception of the universe and his status was that it is in chaos.
The next question is it possible that antipsychotic medications could change the size of the ventricles of a person's brain, even slightly, if you know?
There is a large literature, I'll say it briefly, there's a large literature, isn't it? And it is a debated topic in the field. To do that, you need longitudinal studies.
The next question, when you reviewed information from the counselor who walked to the park with Mr. Holmes as a child, in your diagnosis of Mr. Holmes, did you consider oppositional defiance disorder or autism spectrum disorder? Why or why not? What made you rule out autism spectrum disorder, narcissism, or a defiance type disorder?
For oppositional defiant behavior, it was based on an evaluation one time based on some difficulties at home, and looking at the record, my evaluation consisted of a quick change that the parents and guidance to the parents of dealing with a firstborn that they might not listen as much, and increasing communication between them. There was no evidence of any oppositional defiant behavior later on. When seen at age 8, a diagnosis needs to be made in the record for insurance purposes. It has to be made, and this was the best that fit the complaint or the reason the parents looked for help.
Go ahead.
For autism, I considered it, and as I referred to in my written note after the first evaluation, it was a consideration to get more of a developmental history, and this was a question, one of the questions that I provided the attorneys, investigators went out to meet with his parents regarding the language. That's how I knew about the language and the grandmother information that I provided to the court. There is overlap, especially in males, higher proportion of males with autism and with schizophrenia. You see it in all neurodevelopmental disorders. And there is an overlap in the features. Autism starts much earlier, is associated with significant motor, language, and social interaction deficit. It did not have significant difficulties in articulation, in being clear, in not being engaged with activities that you might see in autism. So I did not think, and his motor behavior, so I did not think, or abnormal, like I showed, like echolalia and repeated movement, I did not think that he met criteria for autism spectrum disorder. But autistic features, especially in males with negative symptoms of schizophrenia, are present.